Okay, guys, you're welcome to our tutorial series called the Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is a one-off tech startup company that's going to last all through the 100 days of code, and we're going to be teaching you full stack web development with your phone. The Lighthouse is powered by Student Hub, which is an online learning platform that hopes to improve the education system here in Nigeria. For more information about Student Hub, you can simply head over to their website. I've left a link to them in the description below. So, yeah, that's just it. Before I go any further, my name is Toby, and I'm the CEO of Student Hub. Now, a lot of people I know really want to go into tech programming and such, but they usually don't have access to computers. When I talk about computers, I mean they are laptops and desktops, dedicated machines that they can use for coding, and that is a huge setback for them. So I decided to create this series to teach you full stack web development with your phone. Now, when I talk about full stack web development, I know that term, if you are a beginner, that term sounds very new to you. I refer to front end and back end development. Now, answering one question has led to two more. What is front end development and what is back end development? Well, when you're on your website, that part that you actually interact with is called the front end side. And let me just open up my browser here. And yeah, you see this part I'm interacting with, it's the front end. That's just the front end side of things, with part I can interact with. And the part and the programming, the languages that are used to build this front end, they are just three in number: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is not regarded as a programming language, it is a markup one, as it is used to give a web page structure. Then CSS is also not a programming language, it's just a markup language, and it stands for Cascading Style Sheets. You use it to design a much more pleasant user interface and user experience. And finally, you have JavaScript. JavaScript is the real programming language here, as you use it for behavior. Now, I want you to remember these three things: HTML for structure, CSS for presentation, and JavaScript for behavior. When I talk about JavaScript being for behavior, maybe if you've ever been on one of these websites where you are asked to sign up for their service, and they ask you to enter a password that's a mix of maybe a capital letter, a small letter, and a special character. If you mistakenly miss maybe one of these parameters, you get an error. What enables you to see that error is the JavaScript code doing its work. I'll show you guys how to do that in this tutorial series. That's just what you need to know. Now, the backend side of things. Backend refers to the parts that you can't really interact with. You are dealing with servers, with database administration and servers. People usually refer to the backend side as the server side. Um, Now, let's say for instance you head over to Google and you search for this programming flyers, right? I searched for programming flyers when I was looking for inspiration to just design the Lighthouse flyer. Now, when I search for programming flyers, the front end is just there for me to have a pleasant user experience with my search. Now, what helps me scour the web for information is the backend side of things. The backend handles user requests, form processing, and stuff like that. That's what you use the backend side for. You have a lot of languages and frameworks you can use for backend, such as Python, C Sharp, JavaScript. There are a lot of them. Ruby on Rails, Go, Rust, so many of them. Then you also need a little bit of you also need server knowledge too. in MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite, any one of them. Just make sure you are okay with them. A person who does these two things is what we refer to as a full stack web developer. That's just what you need to know for now. But in this our tutorial series, we're going to be using Python and Django for back-end web development. Django is not a programming language, it's just a framework that allows you to create back-end that allows you to create the back-end side of things for your web application. So let's just dive into web creation roles. Now, when you are designing a website, you have certain roles that you assign to people. These roles now are designed into two main parts. You have content and design. Every good website has to have quality content. For that, you need a very experienced information architect that will help you to do your research and help you to gather your content and help you to organize them in a more accessible way. Then when you head over to design, now in terms of design, you are dealing with a lot of things. But the main part you'll be dealing with are the user experience and the user interface. Now, user experience, from the word experience, it describes how you feel, how you let me think of the perfect word here. How comfortable you are with that website, your experience with it. Then you move over to the user interface. Now it simply means how well that website, how well you are able to interact with that website. We have people who do these works for you, UX and UI designers. I know a couple of them myself. Then you now move over to the code itself. Web design is not complete without code, and I think I've explained the code that you need, just the front end and the back end side of things. I've explained that prior to this time, so I won't be going back. Then you also have other roles too, such as product management, project management, SEO optimization, and yeah, those are just some roles that you need to know. When I talk about SEO optimization, it simply stands for search engine optimization. We have people who are dedicated to these works. They are the ones that help you to get your website search engine ready and things like that. So yeah, that's just what you need to know. So a quick recap of this video. I told you about this tech startup and all. We also talked about front end. We also talked about full stack web development that comprises of the front end and the back end side of things. I also introduced you to some web design roles. Then in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how the web works. But before then, there's a certain thing I forgot to tell you. You also need to level up for web design. So if you really want to take this course with your phone, the minimum requirements are you need to have 512 MB of RAM. If you want to check how much RAM you have on your phone, you can simply so as I was saying, if you simply want to check how much RAM you have on your phone, if you just notice that shortcut, that short break there, it's because I had something to do quickly while in the middle of this shoot. So to check how much RAM you have, you just simply check your phone's past activity, and if you notice under this broom icon here, that's you can notice over here, I'm having 6 gigs of RAM. The minimum RAM you need to follow up on this project is 512 MB. If your RAM doesn't show up over there, you can simply head over to your settings, navigate to the storage part, and as you can see here, storage, you're having both the RAM and internal storage. As you can see, I'm on 6 gigs of RAM. So yeah, then another thing you need to know is your version, your phone version. So when I head over to my system settings here, you can see that I'm running Android version 8. So yeah, The minimum version you need for this is Android version 6, so you'll be able to run some of these applications that we'll be using. So that's just the final thing I wanted to say. So maybe just a quick recap of everything once again. We talked about the aim of this startup. We talked about full stack web development. We talked about web creation rules, and finally we talked about leveling up, about how you can level up for web design. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then.